What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out this video. I'm here with John Smith. If you don't know me, I'm One Up, What Up. Today, we're doing a best to worst for the Assassin's Creed video game franchise. We know these games. We've fucked with these games.
We're going to tell you what the fuck we think. You can love it. You can hate it. Tell us all about it in the fucking comments.
Swag. So the way we compiled our ratings, we each made a list of what we thought 1 through 11 is looking like for worst to best, and came to a reasonable conclusion.
Yeah, let's be real. I looked at your list and I was like, that shit sucks. So I crossed the whole thing out and just put my list and said, that's what we're rolling with.
That's so rude. I will say that he definitely was being a little bitch about the number one spot, and I don't agree with the number one spot, just to preface this. But you ready to drop in on
Fuck yeah.
Worst Assassin's Creed game?
Assassin's Creed Syndicate is number 11 on our list. Worst Assassin's Creed game ever. First of all, the setting was really fucking shitty. I know people maybe get down with that like whole ancient England thing, or back in the day.
England?
Back in the day, England, I should say. I don't know.
Ancient England. I like it.
The fact that they did this play with this brother and sister, or whatever
Evie and Jacob. Yeah, I didn't like the split.
The fact that you went back and forth and played these two people was like, nobody ever wanted that. Nobody asked for that. Don't fucking do it.
Yeah, and they like, one's like playful and funny, like Jacob's funny, and then like Evie's like the serious. And the setting was, it sounds cool-ish.
This is one of them that I didn't finish. And the reason I didn't finish it, I got so fed up with the stupid gang houses or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know specifics of what you call it. But I did that like 10 times and I was like, I'm fucking done with this shit. Is it an Assassin's Creed game? Sure. Does it really fit with what Assassin's Creed is? No. And did it have anything relevant in the storyline whatsoever to what Assassin's Creed lore is? No.
And I didn't like the rope launcher thing. What the fuck is that?
It's like a superhero zipline.
Yeah, Batman zipline, and it was like you could, you have all that rope with you. Yeah. There's only some long fucking stretches. Like, what is that? Like, we as assassins never fucked with that.
I'm glad they took it out of the other games.
My question is, does anybody think it's number one?
Syndicate 11.
Yeah, it's trash.
Trash.
So Rogue was cool. That like the premise was dope. You're an assassin that goes Templar. The assassin thinks it's corrupt, goes with the Templars, links up with them, but it just feels like an assassin game.
I don't want that. Don't give me that. Don't give me like the villains on the good end. It's like I want to stick with my heroes. I don't want to like flip-flop sides and like be confused about who's good and who's bad.
In this particular franchise, never once I was like, I want to be a Templar. That never once crossed my mind, and I always shift to that side. Always villain has more swag. In this series, what makes it so dope, the assassins are super like heavy with
villains.
The swag.
Yeah, and they're like low-key villains almost.
Yeah, it's super dope. I thought that Assassin's Creed Rogue shit was just a bad move for the franchise. I think they could have done it better way later on. Like now, it would make more sense if they did it and they went heavy Templar swag. And it was like completely different gameplay.
Yeah.
And different strategy. It wasn't, you were like lurking around and... Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like Templar, and like the assassins were like a nuisance.
Because I always picture the Templar Order almost in control. They're like in charge. They're like the Pope, and they're like the president, or whoever the fuck they are, right?
The president.
Like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? They're the king, or they're the people who are in charge. So like playing as a Templar but playing like an assassin doesn't make any sense. If you made a Templar game, it'd be dope if like you were the king of England or some shit, and like the assassins were like killing off your people and shit, crazy shit like that. It'd be raw, you know.
So Assassin's Creed Rogue kind of missed the mark. I'm not saying it was like a terrible game, but it was also not a big fan of it. It wasn't like none of these games are like utter trash except Syndicate was kind of trashy.
Yeah, it was bad. I couldn't finish it. So number 9, we have Assassin's Creed 3. Sorry, Connor.
Yeah. Is it racist that he's...
Is that racist? No, that's not racist. I mean, I don't even think Altair was white. He was like Middle Eastern.
But they made him white.
You know what I'm saying? I don't really think so. But anyway, it's like Assassin's Creed 3, it was a huge, epic disappointment. It was coming off the back of the Ezio trilogy.
Which is fire.
Yes. And you're like expecting this new character to kind of have that same feeling and storyline as we had with Ezio, and instead we get this really hollow character. He had a cool little beginning story as a kid. I thought it was kind of cool how he was like half Native American and whatever the case is, and that whole like that story was dope.
The backstory was definitely solid,
but then it just all fell apart with him being bland as hell.
He needed to not be the only assassin.
And not that, but the trailer was fucking fire.
The
you
marketing
see
of
this
this was-
trailer and you're like, dude, you're gonna be fighting in the Revolutionary War. They're gonna somehow bring the assassins into more modern day America. Obviously, you didn't get that from this.
The villains were good because remember they burned his village down, and so the motivation was like great. It just came up short, I thought, and it
Very short. High expectations too, and I think that's why it falls so low on the list because the expectations were there. You're like, this is gonna be gangster, and it just fell fucking short.
Yeah. So Assassin's Creed 3.
That's number 9. Next on the list is a controversial one, but it's Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
So cool character,
Dope character.
super dope character, super great premise. It was such a wasted opportunity. If they did this right, they could have made a trilogy out of it. The character would have been cool. You're a pirate, like this badass. You're
Right.
but it just was lame. The other thing, gameplay, like I said, heavy on the navals thing. I know pirate's going to be naval. It's fine. So much time consumed just across the map. I appreciate it's large, but sometimes it's like chill. I don't want to fucking spend 15 minutes to get somewhere to like open a chest.
Here's where our disagreement happens, right? When I got Black Flag, I had high expectations that they'd bounce back from the catastrophe that 3 was, right? The feeling of letdown where the story fell off, hoping that they'd rebuttal with something that was new and refreshing and bouncing back to what worked in the Ezio trilogy. I hop on this game and I start to feel that with the new character. I like him. I think he has great screenwriting, very on point when it comes to his attitude and actions, and dope tie-in with the Brotherhood and whatnot. The big problem fell short where they still did the same thing they've been doing every single time, where they just dropped the story off at one title with the character. And then you stay left with, what was this all for? Especially because I don't know if you guys remember, but outside the Animus, in this game, there was this weird first-person thing going on. You really didn't get anything from outside the Animus at all. They dropped that storyline altogether. So now we have this really empty feeling of this game where it's like, what is this all for? Why am I even doing this? The gameplay, amazing. The map, beautiful. Probably one of the best in the entire game series. I think they fell short where I think a lot of these games have fallen short since the Ezio trilogy, and that's where this story has just been less important. And I don't mean the contained story of just what's going on in that game, but the story, the overarching story of what Assassin's Creed is and the lore behind the Assassin's Creed world and the Assassin's world versus the Templars and everything. All of this has fallen short.
And the
since then.
artifacts.
And the artifacts, 100%. I think the coolest thing about this game, and what you hate, I love, the naval stuff I remember being dope. I loved building my ship up, making it more gangsta, and I loved taking on those crazy-ass legendary ships out in the middle of the ocean.
You got your cannons up.
You know what I'm saying? I got my cannons up.
Hey, talk to him.
All right, next on the list, we got Unity. It's at number 7.
Unity. Lackluster title. Don't really give that many fucks about it. Character was okay. I think his name was Arno. They did have multiplayer that I thought was really cool. I remember it being a little buggy. Nothing that was something I couldn't get over. I've played much buggier games. But I remember that being sick. You could go in with 4 assassins and just kill a target. And it was dope. And
I think they brought a lot of the lore back. And I think they did a good job at making it feel like an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
This game gets a couple extra points because actually One Up and I played this together. So we scooted up a little bit on this list because we actually platinumed this together. I don't really like the time period. I don't really like the setting that much. It's okay. It wasn't really special in any way. I know you like the DLC a lot, though.
The DLC was the best part of the game. That was like right when DLC was getting a little more popular and mainstream because people were kind of resistant to it at first. I know I was. Anyways, like DLC was, I'm not paying more. Because people will make the argument that, oh, they're not selling full games. Assassin's Creed is definitely selling you a full game. And if you get tight over them asking $30 more to give you like a heavily involved, super creative project, you're bugging. Don't buy it. And this one, I think it's called Dead Kings. You go in all these tombs. And it was, I think, just reminiscent of the original trilogy, like going in tombs and getting like keys and stuff to get to like the secret armor and shit to get like super swagged out, and they just were cool. You're in like crypts. The other thing that they did too, remember they had a huge selection of weapons and different.
They definitely leveled up there. The fact that they were able to expand on the ability to kind of increase your character's equipment, make you look more dope, all that stuff played into a factor as to why this got on higher on the list. So,
Yeah.
All right, next we have at number 6, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
What's your take on it?
I love the time period. I've been begging for an ancient Spartan Assassin's
Greece.
Creed from the rip. Like, I've wanted this for a minute. The reason I fell short for me because it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game from the very beginning.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, it feels like just a regular RPG. No wrist blade. There's no swag when it comes to like having the hood or even just like a Brotherhood or Order. It doesn't feel Assassin's Creed. They did a great job with open world, cool, but for me, falls short there.
It did a lot of things. Okay, I want to say that map is fucking huge. First Assassin's Creed game, I didn't do everything. Still platinum it. Thank God they didn't make the trophy list where I had to go open every chest. That would be a crazy request because there was about 1 billion fucking chests and like Rant. It was just insane. I think they need to dial it back in a little bit because
1000%. Focus on story, not size. That's what we all want.
Yeah, size does not matter. What?
Yeah, Odyssey is a huge feat for video games in general.
100%.
But not Assassin's Creed title. Make another game. And the other thing is choosing the decision you want to make every single time is fucking dumb.
Super dumb.
It's so dumb, and nobody wants that. I want to play a movie. I don't want to watch Lord of the Rings and choose what Legolas does next. Ever. So don't
facts.
put that in my video game.
I've never liked that in video games, like choosing what to say. I want them to say what they're supposed to say.
Facts.
Thank you. And the picking between the girl or the guy, like, I don't need all these fucking choices.
If you're going to give me a main title with a girl, make her gangster, and I'll be totally fucking okay with it.
Yeah.
You don't need to do this thing where you have to play both sides. Just make her hard. Like, we don't need to be flippy floppy on that. Just do it.
Yeah. The DLC is actually really dope, by the way. They went super mythology and fantasy with it, but I kind of fucked with it. It was also the best part of the game was the DLC in this game. Like, you, like, travel through the levels of hell and, like, go to Hades and shit. It's kind of cool. And, like, the fighting at the end of the game, you, like, fight Cyclops and a Minotaur. And it's really epic. It's not Assassin's Creed-esque because it's a little too fantasy.
Right.
But in this sense where Odyssey overall does not feel like Assassin's Creed game, I was like, fuck it. You might as well give me the cool shit of this lore.
I always thought Assassin's Creed, what it did well is it played this fine line between the lore and reality. Cohesiveness and reason for the tales that we know of. Not that just the tales that we know of are real and accept it, right? Yeah. That's not what we looked at for Assassin's Creed. And that is a good kind of step in the right direction for our next one, because landing at number 5 is Assassin's Creed Origins. I had a great experience playing the game. I thought it was really cool. I thought the main character was dope. I thought the fact that they were able to make this in the setting that it was and make it as vast and as big as it felt, I think it was really impressive. The only thing I'd say, and that's why I want to step into this going from what we were talking about with Odyssey, is they jumped into that world of saying, they said, hey, mythological creatures are real, accept it. You're playing against them. And that was one of the first games that really went all in on that.
I like that DLC too. I thought it was great. And it added, because that's the lore that, like the fantasy lore of these locations, you know, like Egypt or Greece. It's great to implement those and it's dope.
But is it Assassin's Creed? Now, the thing about Origins that slams it above Odyssey on this list and a lot of the other games is honestly the gameplay was better than anything I've ever played. The fluidity of it, the way it felt, the way the fighting was, how big the map was, but how still grounded it felt. The travel wasn't too bad.
Yeah, the map size was big, but reasonable. The thing that like frustrated me with it is Bayek was the character to bring it back. And they did a decent job showing like how the symbol was created. It was like a skull of a bird or something, which was dope. Super dope. Bayek was such a strong character. Why not do a trilogy with Bayek? I loved Bayek. Bayek was sick.
And here's why. The reason they couldn't do a trilogy with Bayek is because what ended up happening is they didn't build a strong enough supporting cast. there was never a single villain that you were working to get closer and closer to killing, right? Yeah. Origins had this secretive, who am I trying to kill next thing? And it doesn't give you a strong enough storyline to be like, oh, let's bring these characters back for another one. It closes it off too much.
You talk about too many people to kill, or not a main focus, like a main villain. Like Odyssey was the worst. It was like 1 million cultists you had to kill. It was absurd.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, give me a main villain.
Yeah. But they could have brought it back, or just go fresh with the second one and create like a new villain that's in the second and third game. You could easily have done that. And then here you go, fucking Ubisoft, you fucks. Second game, boom, this is gonna happen. Bayek is fucking chilling, encounters some fucking crazy Templar type behavior, realizes he can't take it on himself. He goes, I need to recruit. So he starts recruiting to do this thing. And in the second game, the Brotherhood is actually fucking formed. Third one, they're like known. And then boom, I'm fucking a genius.
Swag.
I have goosebumps because I'm such a G.
Swag. And not only that, but then at the same time, you can be building the Adam Animus character and building a storyline behind that all inclusively. Why not do that, Ubisoft? Get your hat out of your fucking ass.
It's so easy. I don't know what the fuck the problem is. And then you just keep going like, oh, like they're about to drop Valhalla. Like, cool premise. But can we just get something moving with the story shit? Like, if it's over and you're not coming back to some of the formula that made it work, like in the Ezio trilogy and the original Assassin's Creed with Desmond's backstory, just tell me now, because I'll just fucking quit.
Change the name. They're jumping from time period to time period just to give you that, oh, this one's in Egypt. Get this one because it's in Egypt. And it doesn't work, man. Nobody wants it. We want what's coming up next, because number 4 on our list is Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
Slid a little bit from your list. Now, Assassin's Creed 2, I think, is a fantastic game. Don't get me wrong, I love this game. That's why it's number 4th on the list. It kicked off arguably one of the best trilogies in the history of video games. We got a great setting, a great character, and we built him up from when he was a kid to an adult and gave him a reason for being there and reason for him wanting to join this brotherhood that we're talking about, the one that we already knew of, but while also really respecting the lure of the first game, right? And bringing that and tying it in any chance they can, and but expanding. Not making it too much, right?
And the mythic effect, if you want to call it that, was so prevalent. You find these hieroglyphic type patterns you see with your eagle vision.
Hell yeah.
And you slowly see sequences of Adam and Eve like fleeing in what looks like some advanced Garden of Eden. Super fucking dope.
Swag.
And you have to like decipher and pick out stuff that involve old school paintings that they have inserted the Apple of Eden in, with like Cain and Abel. And like dope. Cain killed Abel for the Apple of Eden. Like shit's fucking fire. Super fire. Super fire. And like you just don't do that shit anymore. It's like,
here's the thing. The reason AC2 slides down on the list is 2 reasons for me. One is I felt like it was really slow to get started, and I felt like I was dragging for the first like 5 hours of this game.
It was like it was set for a trilogy, which I'm cool with.
Definitely, absolutely. The other thing is that a little bit clunky gameplay, and
for sure, fighting was just straight countering, and it was clunky and unrealistic.
Right. The map was good, but felt a little bit tight. Still loading screens in between each sections. It wasn't really a true like open world, and still didn't feel like that.
It was like open city, and then the content was great, but some of it was lame, like races. I fucking hate when they have races. Like, I don't know how many people are into that, but 3 or 4, not races. I fucking hate races, but like assassination contracts. I know that they're heavy in these games, which makes sense. Like, instead of making 100 fucking assassination contracts, make one dope fucking mission chain.
Hell yeah.
And I'm cool with that. And
yep. Great game. Don't get me wrong. When I played it, I was like, this is fire. But it didn't live up to what's next on my list, which is Assassin's Creed number 1, sitting at number 3. Now, here's the thing. This game started it all. It was ahead of its time in damn near every single category. There was never a game that played this open as other games, played this fluidly. The climbing, the jumping, the fighting even style was revolutionary in a lot of ways. Plus tying in this crazy, cool, contained story that you were interested in from start to finish.
It's got to be definitely top 5 in everybody's list. You're crazy to think it's not, in my opinion.
Altair Like, come on, bro.
Legend.
Gangster.
Super dope. And then this had a bunch of mythology as well in it.
Tons of mythology. And the other thing, too, is like, I don't think you can think of another game in this series that had as much of a twist at the end of it.
Yeah.
The fact that the guy that you were following and had this whole order that you were a part of ends up being the bad guy who's trying to get the apple eaten for himself to like destroy the world. It was really dope. That end fight will stick with me forever because you get to that point and you're like, fuck, it was him the whole time. Because another part of this that's like beautiful to me is every time you kill one of your contracts, you have an intimate moment with them. They steer away from that a lot later on in these games. But that moment that you had, they would always tell you almost that you're fucking up in a certain way.
Because that it ties into how you said they're like low-key villains almost. And in the first game, you end up kind of assisting the villain. You do assist the villain the whole time. You don't know it. But yeah, that's just fire.
I love the fact that this game established the Templar versus Assassin war that's been happening for all these generations. Mm-hmm. And I love how the Assassin's Brotherhood was almost like this religion, right? You follow these rules and guidelines of this like legendary cult almost. It set up this entire series in a way that nothing else could. This game started it all, right? You have to respect that, and that's why it lands so high on the list.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Number 2 on our list. Drum roll, please. Number 2 on the list is Assassin's Creed Revelations.
I love this game because the tone is so dismal. It embodies the title like Revelations. Like there is all this lore and development that is just coming to a close with Desmond's character, Ezio, Altair's in the midst of it. It's fucking great how they integrate everything. The story is so compelling, and the beginning of the game starts off fire. The controls are a little more refined, and yeah, it's fucking dope. Like Constantinople is dope.
Constantinople.
I can't say it. Just forget
it's all
me.
right. Learn how to speak. It's cool.
But yeah, for me, I always like the villain, dismal, dark swagger. It's a cool connotation.
They did an amazing job at wrapping up the storyline of Ezio. They really did. They brought Altair. They kept a lot of the mystic lore in. A lot of the crazy shit happening in the background with Desmond and all that stuff was perfect.
Questions and answers like happening. It's cool.
It was really fire. Hands down, no matter what, the best trailer of the series. No matter what, it was raw. Absolutely raw. Woodkid was in that bitch. That shit was crazy. It was, I'll never forget it when I saw it. I was like, this is maybe the best game I played of all time. And that to me is why it landed lower on my list, is I had extremely high expectations for this game. And a lot of times when you go into something with extremely high expectations and it doesn't fit that expectation perfectly, it ends up sliding down to be a little bit less of something that you like. But overall, like a beautiful, beautiful game and a send off to Ezio.
Yeah. The one thing that's weird though, the animation for his face looked weird in that game. I don't know what the fuck they did that. They try to make him like older and distinguished, but he kind of looks like a monkey. It looked like Ezio, maybe because he has a beard. I don't know. Maybe that's why. It just kind of looked funky. But I don't like how in this one they did the optional objectives and it doesn't give you a full memory sync if you don't do it. Like it's like,
oh yeah,
you know that they put that in that game, and it's like sometimes it's cool. But don't tell me I need to throw 5 bodies in a haystack if I don't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't hit 5. Because then I'm not even playing the game the way I need to play it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have to. It's unnatural. And I think if you're going to do optional objectives in any game, especially if it prevents like full completion because they fuck with you and like, oh, it's 50% complete because you didn't do this optional objective.
Yeah, it takes away from a lot of the fluidity too.
And don't make it like that. I just think in general, if you're playing through a game and it's story driven, don't add like these extra little quirks that I have to try to accomplish because it just takes me out the element in the story because now I'm trying to do some other shit and it's unfortunate.
At the end of the day, still fucking the second best game in this entire series. One of the best series in all gaming history. Fantastic fucking game.
I think it's the best.
Fuck with this shit heavy. But the very final one, you already know what it is. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. We got here from math, bitch.
No, this game is like definitely, It's a fucking great game. And Rome was dope. The gameplay was a little better. Still falls in the same category as this whole trilogy. It's clunky with the counter game.
Yeah.
If anybody that knows has played it, the counter thing is...
Here's the thing with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. It gives you everything that you want when it comes to Assassin's Creed. It gives you the lore. It gives you the feeling and the vibe. It gives you the true assassin. And Ezio's at his prime. It gives you an amazing open world. It was actually the first like real open world where there's no loading screens and shit. But it also gives you this emotion. The music was on point. The story was on point. The characters were on point. The stuff outside of the Animus was perfect in so many ways. But when you're playing this game at the time, it's a perfect game. There's no issues with it. And you love every moment of it. It brings it full circle. This is what makes Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed. This is why we're doing this list, is because of how amazing this game was. Facts.
No, we're doing it because Assassin's Creed came to birth. Shout out to Altair.
Altair, bitch.
No,
like Jesse Pinkman tonight, bitch. And one thing that Assassin's Creed has gone way away from, completely away from, if anything, back in the day was this grounded, going into ancient like ruins and crypts and like underground tombs, and exploring and doing all this jumping and like catching like certain beams and shit to like get to where you got to go, and like doing like certain puzzles and shit to get this like armor or get this secret piece of Eden or whatever the case is.
I feel like the whole Ezio trilogy was perfect in that
Absolutely,
sense.
yeah.
Like
a lot
the
of
puzzles and the tediousness, if you want to call it, because they've definitely dubbed the fucking games down.
Hell
like,
yeah.
That's like in like
100%.
Getting to the closing of this, like the premise is they dubbing this shit down and they need to go back to their roots and build off a character.
Give us story.
We need a trilogy.
Want story.
We need a fucking trilogy.
Yeah.
Like
we
hard
want
body.
Story.
Yeah.
We don't want the flashy big maps, lots of fights, wars. I don't care. Story is where it starts.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed was about playing a movie. This game had a crazy good villain. And the fact that they brought in that you can like call in your gang and like have them come in and like fuck people up and shit. Ezio just became a full fucking assassin at the end of Assassin's Creed 2.
Legend.
He was like the leader of this bitch in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and you just felt that. You felt that like gangsterness through and throughout. It was just amazing, top to bottom. Saving Rome, bitch.
Fucks with you. It's been a while since they've made a good Assassin's Creed game. Facts. Like the closest thing we got, it was like a nibble of satisfaction was Origins. And then they just said like, fuck you, we're going somewhere else with this.
I mean, I don't know about you, but the best things about Assassin's Creed to me is I'm an assassin. I got a fucking blade in my wrist and I jump down on people and kill them. And that's like my whole thing. And then the lore and the, you know, there's like those things are what make it good. Yeah. It's not what we're used to. It's not what we want. It's not what we made us fall in love with Assassin's Creed. It's really just them wanting to make a cool RPG about the time period and then throwing Assassin's Creed as the name. And it's just really, really a struggle, because what we really want is we want to learn more about this lore between the Templars and the Assassins. What they built is they built this world where there was these organizations or like things moving in the background, the entire world history, that were pulling the strings the whole entire time, and nobody knew, but this is like what the story is. And that's what got you so invested into Assassin's Creed, is you're like, oh shit, I know about that fight. For example, like in Odyssey, I know about the Spartans fight in 300, but I didn't know that it was because the Templars were fighting the Assassins. Yeah. I thought it was just because of this war between two places. But if they made that lore and that crazy storyline explain stuff, that's what we loved. That's what we wanted. That's what we thought was cool. But now you're just making it like about the history, but not giving us a reason why that has to do with Assassins and Templars. It's just whatever the fuck they want it to be. And that's just missing the point altogether.
Yeah, we want Assassin's Creed back. I think that's fair to say. So, I think that's all we want to say about it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Tell us what you think about what we said. If we're fucking wrong, put it in the comments. Tell us we're fucking retarded.
You're retarded and wrong. I already know that. And I said that.
Yeah. But if you think we're right, give me some fucking love and show some love and like this fucking video. How about that?
Yeah, you probably got to that and were like, these motherfuckers are whack. But it's cool. At least we're holding it down for the real Assassin's Creed fans because they know what we're talking about. So hit that like button, comment, let us know what you think. Like on some real shit, I'd love to hear what people think. What you think of this list, what you would replace, and if there's anybody out there that thinks Syndicate is the best Assassin's Creed game, because if they are, whoa, I gotta talk to this
Put
person.
it in the comments.
I gotta talk to this person. Like I gotta hear your point of view.
If you want more of this content moving forward, let us know. We're starting something new here. We're trying to give you some more content. So please reach out if you're fucking with this shit.
Or don't, and you can go fuck yourself at that point. But thank you everybody for listening to this segment, and maybe you'll hear of us again, maybe not. Thanks for listening.
Deuces.